reaching a point where it's very clear that we are a software company. So when we start talking about things like flexible deployment models, that's a software model. When we talk about elasticity, when we talk about flexing up and flexing down, when we talk about OpEx models on licensing, those are all great signs that we have become a true software company. Not just a communications-based software company, but a software company no different than any other enterprise software company. With that brings a lot of new capabilities. We just finished earlier this week with our hackathon in India, external hackathon. That's another great example of becoming a true software company and being open, another attribute of true software. And what we did was we essentially handed our 3 most important open technologies to the external world and then had them come back in and propose projects, use cases, value propositions, and it was just a great couple of days. There have been meetings where they wanted to talk about Agile development, Agile projects, Agile rollout. That's something that typically the communication industry didn't hear a lot about. What you heard about were flash cuts, kind of the old days. Now, great meetings that says, look, we have to move more agile as your customer. Tell us how you're going to help us do that. That's a new conversation that we've really not had in the past. So that's really exciting. Microservices, we tend to refer to those as snap-ins. The industry, in a more standard term, would call those microservices. With the advent of public clouds like Amazon, AWS, Azure, etc., microservices in the overall software industry are becoming quite the trend and very popular and almost a requirement. Our customers aren't used to hearing about that in the communication space. So some great meetings where they were saying, wow, you guys are really ahead of where your competition is, because where we expect this in a more traditional CRM-like company, we don't expect to hear of those types of architectures in a communications-based solution. We've studied or we've thought about the value of having blended agents. We've thought about the value of allowing our customers to come into our systems, whether I'm a bank or a service provider, that our customers are demanding anytime, any place, any channel types of interactions. All the way from one customer service, obviously, is my customers are demanding certain things, and I feel like I'm kind of in the old way of doing things. So my customers are articulating value to me. That's one thing that they're saying. We were talking to one of the service providers that essentially is saying, look, I have this whole new young set of customers that don't behave the way my traditional customers have. They expect things to be very differently. Talk to a bank that says, look, for things that are very simple to do, my customers expect to be able to chat with bots or to be able to interact with an automated speech system, and then only move to a live agent if there's a part of their transaction that can't be done in this simpler way. That was not, I'm going to force that on my customers. That was, my customers are demanding this of me. So that's the value that they know that they can give to them. Agility. First time I've really heard of these types of traditional institutions thinking and how to develop in a not just an agile way, but using an agile process. We used to talk a lot about turn years into months, turn months into days. Now it's the customers talking about turning years into months, months into days. That's, again, very refreshing. We built a very agile platform. Breeze, platform. Oceana, great application, but also a platform. So what the customers are coming with is not asking us about features and are we ahead of the curve. What they're bringing are use cases. Now, it isn't that we've necessarily built their exact use case, but what we demonstrate is how the platform is able to accommodate their use case. Now we've gone to platforms like Breeze that are totally open, microservices based. Oceana, totally open, microservices based. Vantage, totally open, client SDK based, and they can now anticipate what these customers are asking for. No two use cases are going to be the same, so that's why you have to have these flexible applications and flexible platforms. They are also asking to be able to deploy in a flexible way. That's where we get to the flexible deployment models. So you may talk to one customer that says, I'm ready to move from having things in local business units to more of a cloud approach in my own data center. Can you accommodate that? Others may be more progressive and say, I'd like to have a private instance in the public cloud. Others are even more complex and saying, I'd like to have a hybrid model, maybe some in my data center, some in the public cloud, some even in a public instance in a public cloud. It's not so much a conversation around cloud as much as it's a conversation around the flexibility of how it can be deployed in many different cloud solutions. We're in a great position because we can answer yes to most of those. And where we can't necessarily answer yes, we will. And sometimes it's not even applicable, and we can explain why things, for example, like communications platform as a service, is really better in a public cloud multi-tenant solution, where something like Oceana is more applicable perhaps for a public cloud private instance, or maybe even a private cloud private instance. So these customers are thinking about not only features and functions, they're thinking use cases, and they're also thinking about flexible deployment models, not just focusing on what would be termed cloud.